Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Island Resilience Forum. We are here after an eventful morning, and I really want to begin with saying, obviously, the purpose of why we're here is to connect with one another, and I think that's why we'll probably have several of our colleagues from this morning slowly joining us as people regroup from lunch. Look, the Island Resilience Forum is designed to build meaningful, impact-driven partnerships. But that can't be done without leadership at the highest levels. And when oftentimes we talk about what resilience means in the Island Resilience Partnership, there's a lot of different ways to define that. But I think it's most appropriate for resilience to be defined by the co-chairman of the Island Resilience Partnership, our co-chairman, Lord Fatafehi Fakafanua, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly for the Kingdom of Tonga. Fata, will you please join me, sir?
Thank you, Matt. And, I think all credit where it's due. You've mastered my name beautifully. So, segueing to the second half of today's Island Resiliency Program, I've been given the heavy task of defining what resiliency means. And so after some reflection, I think resiliency at the core of it needs to be people-centered. And that's because we need to learn to live with climate change. And given that's inevitable, there are two tracks of building resiliency in the islands. The first one is mitigation against climate change, and that's just decarbonizing your energy system. And we talked about the injustice that's happening because it doesn't really matter it does, but it won't make a difference if we decarbonize our energy system or not. And so more importantly, resiliency for us is building adaptation, and that's heavily reliant on resilient infrastructures so that we can weather the storms that are coming and the ones that are already here. When you look at resiliency for us in the islands, we're very people-centered, heavily cultured people. We're very proud of the island and the cultures that we have. And so, centered on the people, we have to think about the implications of health, education, our very proud culture that we've developed over the past millennia, energy systems, food security, job security, and opportunities. All of this can be centered around the people and what we describe in the Pacific as blue economies or circular economies. And the Pacific Island Forum, or the Pacific leaders, have envisioned a 2050 vision, or what is also known as the strategy for Blue Pacific Continent. This Blue Pacific Continent, if we look laterally, looks into how energy systems of the future in the island will work. Water security, which has an implication on food security. When you talk about sea level rising, in a small island nation, we're talking about the water lens that is very close to the ocean. So the more water that we draw from the water reservoir, the higher the salinity level because the ocean comes in. And there's a tipping point. As our populations grow and we have industry and there's more demands on water, there's a danger that we will increase the salinity that's irreversible for our water lenses. And so with energy, we can look at technologies that can be transformative for food security through desalination, through other technologies, water capturing, that will augment our food security. And in terms of being more resilient for crops, we have to start looking at climate resilient crops that can weather the changing seasons, the more adverse temperatures, the more adverse storms. These crops don't exist today, but through certain food technologies and different partners, we can build that resiliency for food security. In terms of adaptation is mostly non-financial, if I was to speak plainly. Because with mitigation, you can build a solar farm and have a PPA agreement. So there's a tariff, there's a return to investment. But with adaptation, you have to build and rely on seawalls. There's not much of a return for investors on seawalls. And so that's where funds like the Loss and Damage Fund, a lot of the ODA that we rely on as small island Pacific countries, is critical to building key infrastructure that would make us resilient in the face of climate change. Tsunami bridges, boats, wharves, so that we can allow people to trade and to move within islands and become more resilient in the face of changing climate. So what does true island resilience mean to me? It means to have a complete insulation from the external shocks that are arriving on our shores. And so I would like to end by quoting from what some of my friends in the Africa region like to say. We have a long way to go. And they used to say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that's important for our collaboration with partners and stakeholders here today. So thank you very much, Matt Chunjin.